So what do you see on the screen? Thanks for the introduction. Maybe some of you see an M, maybe some of you see a W. What about here? A 6, a 9, and now a clown. But if you turn your head to the right, and I'll help you with that, maybe you see a full circus. It's a matter of perspective. So good morning, good evening, and salam, a greeting of peace. We've been discussing so many perspectives on the agenda for women and leading change. I'd like to invite all of us to think about just do it, or maybe even just double it. And the invitation is pick something that you've heard from today or this entire month where we're focusing on gender that resonates with you, that you can implement in your life consistently and put it in play. Because change does involve risk, and it involves our decision to choose courage over comfort. Today, I'll be touching on 3 areas. The first one is making the invisible visible. So whoever we are, old, young, male, female, what matters is what our hearts contain. If we have the heart of a survivor, a fighter, then we are survivors. What's outside our heart is just the glass that contains the lamp. And the light inside is who we are. And that's the light to live our truth in our own personal contexts. And skeletons, they can't live in the light of day, only in darkness. So as part of today and this month, we're here to have some meaningful dialogues with this light, and also to include the voices of girls and women with disabilities, people of determination. In preparation for this session, we did small focus groups and got the input of many different men and women in the Pakistani diaspora, both in Pakistan and outside Pakistan. And so maybe we could think about what are my unconscious biases? And perhaps do I have conscious biases? So the unconscious or the implicit bias, it's not intentional. We don't mean to have it, but it's there. And so we tend to judge others either on the basis of race or ability or gender. Oh, women can't make good financial decisions, or women can't work late, women can't travel by themselves. And that impacts our decisions to hire them. And just like the rhino here, he or she sees their horn everywhere. And just because we don't have it, maybe because we haven't experienced a barrier on the tech front or otherwise, doesn't mean it doesn't exist for hundreds and thousands of other women. So let's just step back to the basics for a moment. Tarbiyah and Talim, 2 things. How to live a life based on values. That's the first one. And Talim is a wholesome, relevant, dated, current education. What is your definition of equity? And is it more than just equal? Is it more than equality? Because we all have different abilities, different instincts, different responsibilities. So true equity lies in removing that fence, removing the barrier. And this may mean we have to stop trying to fit in, to just copy paste other models, other solutions, without considering our own unique contexts. Absolutely, we can learn from others, but we need to be aware of our sensitivities. And also keep in mind, Pakistan is a young nation. There is an impact of colonization on our ways and on our mindset. And so how can we encourage our communities? That's the indigenization piece of the agenda today. How do we encourage the rural communities, the urban communities to develop their own educational systems in a wholesome, organic manner, rather than being judged for not following a quote unquote popular framework? And a famous scholar once said, the greatest oppression and ignorance is that we seek glorification and respect or reverence from others, but our heart is empty of the divine. We become self-centered and not divine-centered. The second area is men and women together as champions of equity. So one action I'd like us all to think about is be proactively inclusive and optimize the use of digital tools, keeping equity, not just equality, top of mind. give women a seat at the table, whether it's the school table, whether it's the dining table or the dastarkhan, or in the boardroom. And of course, the parliament and the highest levels of civic, social, and government responsibilities. So around the world, women make up only 7% of heads of state and only 24% of national parliamentarians. Yet Pakistan, despite our low ranking um, on gender parity, we've already had one female prime minister. So for the male champions, perhaps together we can scan and implement. What about your workplace? What about your home? How can you co-lead getting women a seat at the table? Each one of us has a role to play to use our talents, leverage technology to offer dignity to women, girls, boys, and men more broadly. We can offer coaching, counseling, a support community, training, working from home opportunities, and support for those with different abilities. And whose opinion is not being heard? Are we invisible? So encourage and celebrate assertiveness as part of our culture, not aggressiveness, not passiveness, but assertiveness. And that is a pathway to freedom, to stand our ground with confidence and with respect. And for those of us who have colleagues and are hiring managers, how can we be more inclusive to women who have chosen to take breaks in their career, or those who are not so tech savvy, or those who are on the fringes? They're marginalized either because of where they're living or because they're refugees or have different abilities. So we can appreciate the more we can appreciate the layers in cultures and subcultures. Each province has a different culture, each city, each neighborhood in the city has a different culture. Then we can better understand the solutions through e-commerce and other digital spaces that help. And each one of us, depending on our roles, can promote pay equity and address the root cause of what is causing the gender pay gap. We know we have it. It could be unconscious biases, conscious biases, or just a simple lack of flexible work arrangements. Be a mentor to someone, be a sponsor to someone to help them navigate the tough waters. This looks like a shark, but maybe not everything is as it seems. Um, Plato said this, but I'm sure many of us identify with it. We could easily forgive a child who's afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. And Mother of the Nation, Fatima Jinnah said, we have a magic power that's in our hands, and that is to take vital decisions, no matter how grave and momentous they are. So our faiths, whatever our faith is, Pakistan is a Muslim majority country. Our faiths got it right. Women do have a voice and they have agency. Our job, if we choose to accept this mission, is to reclaim it from the layers of imperfect human behaviors. And the last point I'd like to touch on is where do we stand today and how do we go from from here to there? And like all of you mentioned, education is a key role. Are those equal? Those who know and those who do not know? This is a passage in the Quran. No, they're not equal. And there's another request, advance me in knowledge, also in the Quran. So acknowledging and respecting where we stand today, regardless of the faith that you might identify with, linking our actions to faith, especially in a country like Pakistan, can catalyze how we uplift our mindset. So leaning on what the faith has to offer can give us some powerful solutions. And interestingly enough, modern business research, spearheaded by Stephen Covey a number of years ago, highlights many of the same characteristics. How do we build trust? We talked about cell phone usage and the lack of trust between men and women in certain rural areas. So there are a few qualities that have been highlighted. Again, from a faith perspective, of being truthful, patient, humble, remembering the divine, and that helps us to build trust, which we need to progress the agenda. And these values demonstrate equity in how both genders are addressed. So the respect in our culture is there. Yes, it has to grow. Yes, it has to evolve. Many of you And this is spotted behind the truck art on rickshaws and public transport, even in homes, which the mom's well wishes are a breeze of heavenly blessing. So the respect is there. Women have always played a strong role in our history. The person who stood up to Pharaoh first was a woman. The person who accepted Islam first was a woman. The ritual that we do in the pilgrimage, millions and millions throughout time, have followed in the footsteps of a woman, the wife of Abraham, Ibrahim alayhi salam. Yet the global gender gap in Pakistan places us at 145 out of 146. So luckily we have nowhere to go but up. And part of that asks us to recognize, where do I stand today? Pakistan is a nation that sacrificed millions of lives and resources and fought for its freedom, for a free mind. So in this country where our values are of equity, justice, and a true protection of women's well-being that are championed by the faith, but perhaps due to our own lack of awareness, our own unconscious biases, and those who benefit from the status quo, these values are not able to thrive. Studies have shown time and time again, if only women are agents of change and if only men are agents of change, we don't get successful results. But when we educate and grow compassion with both genders, that is the magic sauce. So the key ingredients of success are right here, you and me. And when the whole world is silent, even one voice, your voice, my voice, becomes really powerful. So maybe each one of us can choose to be silent no more. It's not rocket science. And you may have heard the famous saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So as we started off in the beginning, what is one thing that you would like to commit to doing differently, either in your home, your workplace, your community, over the next 3 weeks? And together, perhaps what was once our weakness can now become our strength. Thanks for your time.